If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. Child should lead them.
Yes. We are in the middle of a stream. It's the dysfunction stream. Is that what it was? Family dysfunction or just
It's the cycle of destruction.
Dysfunction.
Scream.
Yep.
Scream.
Scream. So we are this stream is being hosted by the narrator, as you see up here, which apparently Vinny and I love because I see the little hearts going by, the little I love yous. So this stream is like a complete mystery to Vinny, half mystery for me because I was half distracted when I was downloading the songs. So we have song number 2 is titled as 2, so we don't know what it is or what it's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to have to do with dysfunction.
That's the theme. It's the name of the, and sit tight. It's a mega stream tonight, y'all.
Yep.
So sit tight.
Yep. Get your
relax.
popcorn, get your Red Bull, chill out. Here we go.
The Smiths.
I'm the sun and the air of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. I am son and heir of nothing
This song is heavy,
smooth and strange,
smooth and heavy in its own way. And that guitar,
yeah,
that shit is crazy.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Well, it reminded me of somebody that suffers with agoraphobia. Here we go. Boop. I like being in charge of this. Here you go. This is the Mayo Clinic.
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia, right here. Agoraphobia is a type of anxiety disorder which you fear and avoid places or situations that cause you to panic and make you feel trapped, helpless, or embarrassed. You fear an actual or anticipated situation, such as using public transportation, being in open or enclosed spaces, standing in line, or being in a crowd. So it reminded me of that. It seems like this person suffers from a bit of that, and it's impeding them from enjoying their life to the full.
It's like extreme shyness. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Yeah,
right.
I think, see, I relate to this a lot because I moved around so much. Mm-hmm. So moving around so much, you're always the new kid.
Yeah.
And, some schools were better than others, but, you just get this sort of... It's weird because shyness doesn't really sound like something that could be painful. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Like shyness, people are like, oh, you're just shy. It's like,
yeah.
But it really is depending on the reasons for why you're shy, yep. Right? Like so now people have, if you look at me, he's this big,
I know,
personality,
right.
yada yada. I got put in situations where I had to do public speaking. I've always said I've hated public speaking, and it was a battle to get up there and do that. But being the new kid in school, there was one year I did 4 schools in 3 different states in 2 different boroughs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it was just an insane time. Like, and one of those pit stops, we were at a homeless shelter. So there was another layer of shyness because I remember there was this bottle drive for the poor at school.
Cans.
And yeah, canned food, get canned food to the poor. Mm-hmm. And then like if you're class 1, then you got like a movie or something. And everybody was like giving and all that. And I had literally nothing. And,
that story is so sad to me when they were asking you.
And they're like, come on, Vin, come on.
Our team's going to lose, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I forgot. I kept saying I forgot. But like that shyness, it's like, it can be really, really, because it isolates you.
Yeah.
And it's one thing if like the crowd is picking on you and then you get isolated, people feel bad for you. But if you kind of isolate yourself, then, and then forget it. Like if you're trying to work with the opposite sex, forget it. Because you're coming into puberty and everything and everybody's like, pairing off or whatever. Yeah. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, that's never going to happen for me, ever. Like, because,
nobody would know it by looking at you.
Yeah, now, like, it's, I basically had to, like, develop a certain type of persona. You know what I'm saying? And then once I was successful, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Then it got kind of easy to kind of, like, live in that persona. But yeah, I mean, that's why, like, especially when I talk about Florida and things like that, it was all sports. Mm-hmm. It was me and my boys. We did baseball, we did taekwondo. Mm-hmm. And I was proficient at that. And because I was proficient at that, it gave people an outlet to say, hey, Vinny, like they wanted to hear what I had to say and all this. And so in our little subculture, especially in taekwondo, because you had to go to tournaments and stuff and you kind of strategize and you can kind of rely on certain people or whatever. So in that context, I was okay. You know what I'm saying? And there was one time I was playing baseball. This Puerto Rican girl, Jennifer, I guess she was in love with me. And, I'd be playing or whatever. And my brother was like, yo, my older brother was like, yo, Shorty's like, she's like really feeling you or whatever. And I was like, man, shut up, man, whatever. And then she gave me a note. And she said something in this note, and I was just looking at this note like,
oh yes, I remember this.
I was like, looking at this note, you know what I'm saying? And like but it was out. She would watch my games, but she wasn't a baseball player, so I couldn't talk to her. You know what I'm saying? It was just so, yeah, man. Like it's a weird thing to say, like, just to be like, oh, that's a form of suffering, but it really kind of was after a while, until I kind of found a way to not project that kind of shyness out there. Because what I realized is, when I projected that kind of shyness,
You can't get past it.
people know that. And I don't know, something happens with girls where, like, you know, I was never like a super attractive kid. So if you were a super attractive kid and you were shy, they'd be like, oh, you're so mysterious. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not a very attractive kid, then it's like, oh, I mean, look at this guy. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, ugh. I was certain I was going to die alone for the rest of my life. I was certain of it. I thought girls would never ever want to, you know. And that's probably why I went crazy like I did when I figured out the algorithm. Because I was trying to like, I don't know, some sort of strange, like, oh, okay, this means I'm valuable or some crazy shit. But I went insane, you know, once we hit high school. But, yeah. But
Wow. That's deep.
But go ahead. What are your thoughts on this?
It's so bizarre to like picture you feeling shy. But I do notice, like, if you have to do public speaking, not like if you're doing this channel stuff, but there were times where I saw you doing public speaking and I could tell, like, it was extremely difficult for you to get up there and do it. I know for me, anxiety was something that I always had, but didn't know what it was. And it just became part of normal living, but I couldn't succumb to it because we grew up homeschooled, and at that point nobody even knew what homeschooling was. So people like, if you said homeschool, they were like, what's that? And then once they found out that your parents were schooling you at home, like there was like this look of horror, like, oh my gosh, like your parents are that religious, holy moly. And then I would always just be like, oh my gosh, it's so much better, like you can get your schoolwork done in 3 to 4 hours a day, and then we can hit the slopes and go skiing. It didn't really actually happen all that often. It was just my way of kind of like getting off the subject again. But anyway, anxiety and, you know, extreme shyness or whatever, it is really debilitating, and it makes it difficult to meet people and to put yourself in situations to meet new people or to hang out with people that you already know. And it's true that you can't always tell who feels that way, because I don't think anybody would look at us and think that we ever felt that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still like that. Like we were gonna go out the other night, and you told me to message somebody. You're like, yo, message them to come with us, and I immediately felt like that anxiety, shyness, whatever. And there's literally no reason, because I love being around them. It's just that uncomfortableness. I don't really know. But yeah, it's definitely something that can be limiting.
And obviously, you know, I talk about Holden Caulfield on Catcher in the Rye. I'm the son and the heir of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. So maybe his dad was a shy guy himself, because he's the son and the heir of a shyness that is criminally vulgar, which is a good, I think, double entendre, because son, S-U-N, heir, A-I-R.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the son and the heir.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it kind of like encompasses your entire universe.
Yeah.
You know, the son and the heir is all riddled with shyness, and you're the son of a shy person, and you're going to inherit your father's shyness. I'm the son and the heir of nothing in particular. Which is interesting because you got a guy like this who's a rock star, who's affected literally millions of people, who's admired by literally millions of people. And these guys, that sound, I don't know who came up with that sound in the 80s, but if they came up with this sound, like if they were one of the...
Yeah.
I hear a lot about this band, the Smiths. So, like, they were basically dominating their genre for the entirety of the 80s, basically, but... You know, it doesn't, and that's why you can't read a book by its cover, man. You know, like, a lot of times people will see, like, oh, Vin, you know, especially up in contexts like here, people are like, oh, he's a braggadocious, he's arrogant, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but have you ever thought about why a person would be like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are life issues that create that type of thing, but... One of the things that was mind-boggling to me about this song is just how plain and simple he said, I'm a human, I need to be loved just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because when you're trying to advise somebody who's in a horrible situation like that, you shut your mouth. How can you say I'm going about things the wrong way? It's like, the person may have been right. You're going about things the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But I have found that people are a lot more open to hearing that they're going about things the wrong way, if there's even an attempt to understand why they're going about things, because then it becomes more collaborative. Like, okay, you're unhappy, we invite you to clubs, you don't go, then when you do go, you're sitting in a corner by yourself. Okay, there's a problem. Like, in a perfect world, how would you want this to go? So now it's a partnership and a collaboration, instead of saying, well, what do you expect is going to happen? You never go to the club. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now the person's on the defensive because they feel attacked. Mm-hmm. And you may or may not be attacking them. But at the same time, especially if you think about when I talk about cycles of dysfunction. So I'm like, okay, let's say, for example, that the song 1 and song 2 were connected.
Yep.
So in song 1, there's some, abuse happening. Mm-hmm. There's abuse that you're ashamed of, that you're told not to talk about.
Yep.
Which then, and it creates all this culture of secrecy. And then after that, you go to the next song, and it's the person is now shy. Mm-hmm. Well, they're shy for a very significant reason. But if you don't know that, and you've never been through that, all you're looking at is a guy who's just too shy. Mm-hmm. And nobody's asking that question, like maybe there's something deeper connected to it. You see what I'm saying? So, like, but again, like, have you ever even heard a sermon on shyness?
So, no. One thing that was interesting was when I was in college, there was a girl that was extremely shy, and she was being exalted kind of on this pedestal because she fit the bill for that verse. Well, they were misinterpreting that verse, but a gentle and quiet spirit.
Yeah.
And everybody was singing her praises day in and day out. And she said she was, you could tell she had massive anxiety even to say this. But she told us, sometimes what people are calling my strength is actually my fears. And
okay, yeah.
So everybody was like, she's so unbelievable, and Natalie this, Natalie that. And then sure enough, I mean, when she said it, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm being squashed into, a square peg into a circular hole. This doesn't work. And I tried to be like her, but it just didn't come naturally. Like that wasn't my personality, just like my personality wasn't hers, and neither one of us should try to be each other. But everybody was encouraged to try to be like her. She was a really sweet girl too.
It's really interesting because Islam places a high value on haya, which is shyness in Arabic.
They put a high value?
High value on it.
Well, that makes sense because they're big on shame and honor.
Right.
Yeah.
And no disrespect, but there are theories that the big homie Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was OCD to a degree.
Oh.
The ritual wash.
Oh, absolutely. Like I don't even second guess that at all.
So, like...
Because there's been stuff about him that I'm like, I really, really appreciate that. And I can be very... Honestly,
you can be OCD yourself.
Yes, I get very angry because it doesn't, because I cannot be as OCD as I want. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so like there's a major value on that in Islam. And that's why the women have the hijab. Shyness and modesty are almost like
one and the same
like
to them.
One and the same, but the emotional experience of shyness is a virtue in Islamic culture. Mm-hmm. So not just the outward modesty angle of it, but the emotional experience of shyness. If you experience shyness emotionally, that's a virtue. So, for example, there's this story about, Muhammad shows up and his buddy Abu Bakr shows up and he's just like kneeling, chilling. And then the other guy shows up and Muhammad sits up and he fixes himself. And so Abu Bakr goes, Ya Rasulullah, when I was here, you were just chilling, relaxing. And then when this guy, Uthman is the guy's name. Uthman shows up, and now you're all doing this. And Muhammad said, shouldn't I be shy around a person who the angels are shy about? So the angels are too shy to when Uthman enters the room, because Uthman experiences so much shyness. Like, he didn't even want his legs shown. He didn't want his feet shown.
Yeah.
He was very, like, you know, and this was exalted as a virtue to the point where even angels were too shy to be around Uthman.
Yes.
Like, that to me is like the ultimate reversal of a guy who is shy, and he's turned that into a virtue. And now, you see what I'm saying? Like, because if you really look at Muhammad's life, he really was kind of a shy dude. He really didn't.
I mean, I'd be shy too if people were clipping my beard and taking the spit that I was brushing my teeth with, and you know what I mean? Like, that'd make you a little uncomfortable. You know, we're gonna just chill, people.
Yeah.
Collecting everything from me.
But that line, I'm a human and I need to be loved just like everybody else. It's like, dude, it's really interesting because, you know, with depression, people have depression, they're like, you need help.
Yep.
People who have like outbursts of rage and anger, people are like, oh, you need to go to anger management class. Is there a shyness management class? Like, if a person's too shy, it's like, well, too bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really fascinating. But
yeah, that's interesting.
But again, like, if you connect song 1 and song 2 to a person's like personal journey, then shyness becomes something that's sort of the tip of a much larger iceberg that we got to take seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think too that, you know, here, this is just probably too much Kevin Samuels, to be honest with you. But I think that there's a lot of people that are alone that don't need to be alone. They just need to have a better, more realistic assessment of themselves and what they're.
I agree with that.
You can't be, you know, and take this for what it's worth. This is honestly just an honest conversation, just a tip that you could learn something from if you're in this particular situation. But if you're on the scale of attractiveness and you are honest with yourself and you're very low on that scale and you don't take care of your body and you don't take care of your health, but you're expecting to meet somebody that's like an 8 or a 10.
You're going in today.
You're going to end up alone. So adjust your expectations to realistically see who you are and see who you're compatible with, and just find someone that you can do life and enjoy life with. Because I think that too many people are off by themselves for no good reason at all, just because their standards are too high. Not that anybody should go with somebody that's bad for them, but you know, if you're hitting 30, 40, 50, and it's not working for you, like, switch up your system, man and woman. And yes, the narrator could be a male or a female. Stop assuming.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, people are assuming like hardcore. It's funny. I'm watching the chat and all that, all the speculations. It's kind of
it's funny. So anyway, I agree. They should have something for. There must be. Is there something for shy people? I've never even heard of it.
I don't know. Sadie said she's heard a sermon for shy people.
A sermon? Like.
Yeah, like because I said, have you ever heard a sermon about shyness? And
I mean,
she
Sadie,
said she had.
You don't even
she
go
said
to
it was like
church,
one of her,
right?
She said it was one of the best sermons she's heard. One of her favorites.
Isn't that weird that she doesn't go to church and the one time she was there or whatever? Like, or did you used to go a lot? Because it's such a random topic that I've never heard preached on. Unless she looked it up. What?
DJ was reacting to your thing. I do remember that, actually. I was actually thinking about that a couple days ago. It's kind of freaky that you brought that up.
What?
I'm talking to DJ.
Oh. All right. So.
Oh, she heard it in a real Christian church. There you go.
That's so bizarre. Well, what were they saying about it? Was it like a negative or a positive? I've never even seen them talk about it ever at all. Well, except for when they were saying that girl was really great for being shy. Anyway, so this song was really weird sounding, right? Like,
that was that 80s kind of style, whatever.
Yeah, but it had like some sort of interestingness to it.
I love the song.
I was going to give it a 7 at first. And then as it progressed, I was liking it more and more and more. And so it made itself up to a 9.2 for me.
Oddly enough, this song is a 10 for me because I don't think I've ever really explored like that part of my psyche growing up with moving. Mm-hmm. Like, most of the time when I talk about moving around a lot, I talk about, you know, losing the relationships, and then you kind of build that armor up emotionally because, you know that you're not going to have that person as your whatever.
Yeah.
But, that was difficult. It was very difficult. So it's a 10 for me because it kind of unearthed something that I never really truly thought about it. It's called post-punk. Okay.
You know, I think that in any of my previous relationships or whatever, I think I was always like that. I had to be the outgoing one because they were not as outgoing as me. And you're more like, you can move a crowd very easily. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that I end up being more shy because I know I don't have to steer that cart, because you will. Like, if we walk into a room, you're going to start doing the talking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I have to carry that. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when I first met you, you were running the show. You had no high out whatsoever. You know, you're just like, all right, here we go. I'm the boss. Yeah. You know, I was like, okay, look at Shorty. All right. That's cool. That's cool. It's a 10 for me, dear listener.
Yep, there you have it. 9.2 for me. And we're about to go into the next song. If you're in the stream, hang out with us. And if you're not, hopefully you can catch us.
You're going to have to check us out 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Having said that, dear listener, Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.